Well, joining me now to talk more about the prospects for Brazil's economic recovery is Gilson Schwartz. He's a professor, economist, and journalist based in Sao Paulo. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
So as we saw, Brazil's economy shrank in the second quarter by the most on record and is officially in recession. Should this be viewed as a technical recession caused just by the coronavirus lockdowns, or are there deeper underlying causes?
Well, of course, the deep dive in production and trade, well, that really is a result of the coronavirus crisis. Although much before the crisis, we were still facing a very bleak horizon. Because even before that, the economy was lagging, was under slow growth with fiscal issues and a big confidence issue. So there is something that looks like a V recovery, but it's basically a recovery from the shock of the pandemic. The long-term growth rate is still under discussion.
Now, we did see that August was a bumper month for manufacturing in Brazil, as shown by the Purchasing Managers Survey. Meanwhile, activity in services is lagging. Why this divergence, and what does this signify?
Well, services, as we know, are mostly, despite the online surge, but services are mostly a person-to-person affair. So as long as people stay at home, they don't go to restaurants, they don't go to shopping centers, there's of course a very deep decline in the performance of services. Manufacture, although we have a pandemic going on, industry is about to recover, and what's most important, agricultural goods are on the rise. So basically, with respect to Brazilian GDP, what we have is that agriculture and production are rebounding, but services are lagging behind because there was a deep cut in employment, and the the wage and salaries, they were cut, so services will lag behind for a time.
Now, the government has put in place economic stimulus measures worth about $150 billion, including in employment and credit programs for small businesses. How effective has this been?
Well, there's no doubt this cushion helped face the crisis. It has led even to a turn in the political atmosphere in the country. The president that was very active in terms of even denying the coronavirus risks is now on a more silent approach to the issues, and he's certainly finding it really nice to have this popularity coming back, because he's, after all, he's helping with this cushion for especially low-earning classes, low-earning people. So, as a matter of fact, the main issue now is whether these support, especially for the low-income people, whether this will continue. It's a big discussion. Many people fear that the Brazilian state will not have enough resources to keep that going on. So right now, the main discussion is what will happen once this support, this emergency support, is cut out.
Now, I do want to get to this issue. Obviously, Brazil has one of the world's highest number of coronavirus cases. It doesn't appear to be slowing down. How can the economy continue to cope with this balancing act of lockdowns versus reopening with this risk of more infections?
Yes, I think this is a big issue and a big concern. There is a very difficult situation when it comes to the Ministry of Health, for instance. There is a very much kind of complacency. People are, if you go to the beaches, if you go to the streets, you see millions of people that they act as if there was not a crisis, as if there was not a virus circulating. It's unbelievable. So what we see here is that the speed and the intensity of recovery would depend really on people realizing that this is a real threat. But the federal government doesn't help, and as long as the support, the emergency support, goes out, well, it's the degree of uncertainty is certain to rise.
And as we know, of course, Brazil is not the only big developing economy to suffer. Look at India, Peru, Mexico, Turkey, all had a dismal second quarter in terms of GDP. Is growth in emerging markets going to be set back significantly? And what factors would really help support a faster rebound?
Well, we are really very much dependent on the growth rate of developed economies. So we don't expect a rebound based on domestic forces. There is a great concern with the fiscal issue. The interest rate is really low, but the investment prospects are not really optimistic. So it will be really lagging behind. I think that the emerging world will be lagging behind, and the idea that we are going to face a V recovery, a very strong and fast recovery, at least in the developing world, I think this is a mirage. It's not really going to happen. We're going to lag behind and still wait for the developed world to bring back growth on a global scale.